I'm gonna get flamed, I don't care, but Saber does not understand how to design a satisfying difficulty. I've played dang near every game I've owned in 15 years on its hardest difficulty. I've struggled, I have persevered, I have enjoyed the experience. This game, however, turns the Space Marine experience into shooting a brick wall with gel guns before closing the gap to smack them around with a pool noodle? Okay, pool noodle. Fair. They are definitely referring to light attacks, right? It's offensive, it's absurd. Damage Sponge has always been a hated design archetype because it's crappy, lazy game design. The number of ways to design more compelling and engaging enemies is all the other ways. All right. Okay. Well, this is a pretty interesting post. Obviously, they are criticizing the current state of hard stratagems. At the very least, that is what I assume they are talking about. Now, with posts like this, obviously we would love to see them emphasize what difficulty they're playing on, what class they're playing, what weapons they're playing, because yeah, we've talked about bullet sponges, especially considering bolt weapons and how required headshots are with bolt weapons. And you can see players like this definitely not enjoying missing their headshots. That's essentially what I'm getting at from this. And then not to mention he's talking about smacking enemies around with a pool noodle. I definitely think he's doing light swings, because yeah, light swings right now are just not very great. I mean, anything that you do at light swings should really, if you're doing a couple light swings, it should really go into like a hard swing, charge attack. You should really go like light charge attack. Even the Power Fist actually has a perk. If you go for like a heavy attack, your next light swing does more damage. So I don't know. I just really like mixing it up when it comes to melee swings, and I think obviously getting a parry and a gun strike is obviously going to take down enemies quicker than smacking them with the pool noodle. So yeah, there's been a bunch of posts like this popping up since the new weekly, which is pretty interesting. You got to consider, it's not like weeklies just popped up out of nowhere, but a lot of people, for whatever reason, really hate the new weekly. And I've definitely seen some people complain about it, but I have seen an interesting, maybe a potential solution for the recent difficulty frustrations. I think it would be a good idea to add an intermediate difficulty between normal and hard. What the title says, it would probably be very healthy for the game if the devs gave us a third difficulty option for siege and stratagems. Okay, yeah, look, I heard about this for a while. Like, definitely a lot of people have been talking about this, and I think it's interesting. The thing that kind of holds me back on this is the fact that we have a normal difficulty right now, and we still see people struggling. I mean, a lot of these people, if they don't emphasize if they're playing on hard mode or whatever, it kind of feels like they could still struggle on normal stratagems regardless. So, especially this week's. I think this week's stratagem, obviously it's the first stratagem we ever had, where we're in Inferno, we have Shadow the Warp, and a Hunter. I think this is definitely one of the first moments where people had to adjust how they played, to be completely honest. Like, even with Absolute, as long as you had a kit that you were comfortable with, you were in a good spot. But if you jump into Shadow the Warp with a Bolt Sniper, you might be in a pretty difficult situation. I really can't see how another difficulty will fix that, but let's continue. Current hard missions can take a lot of time, even for seasoned players. Meanwhile, normal difficulty is just a breeze. So I think it would be fun to add something in between, a difficulty that is still challenging, but not to the point you have to sweat your... yeah, where you have to sweat too much. All right, I will say though, see, right now difficulty is incredibly inconsistent. We definitely have a difficulty problem, which is kind of unfortunate because a lot of people have to like essentially get good to jump into hard stratagems, but it feels like, yeah, normal sometimes isn't challenging enough. When it comes to normal stratagems, and if you want something to be a bit challenging, I would suggest literally just going into any chaos normal stratagem, and there's going to be a difficulty spike directly in that mission, and it's going to be when they spawn a whole bunch of chaos spawn. So major challenge in chaos missions on normal stratagems. I feel like that's a great way to learn how to get good, essentially. The rewards should thus also be rebalanced. Normal keeps rewards as is, the new intermediate gets current hard rewards, and hards gets even higher rewards. All right, I'm gonna say this right now. the economy for heroics right now, I think if we were able to get that many points, I'm not too sure players will have something to grind for outside a couple weeks. Maybe that's the case. I'm not too sure. Maybe the math is wrong, and I just think we get enough points. I'm sitting on 1,000 points right now. I guess I get it. That's not the thing. That's not the deal for everyone. But there are a lot of people who are in my comments saying, man, I have 1,000 points. I don't know what else to do with them because we bought out the shop and I want something to grind for, but I don't have anything left. So yeah, this sort of a balance in the economy for rewards for stratagems, I think it's very important just so people have something to grind for. But yeah, not to mention we're going to jump into the new wave of rewards with 1,000 points, like a lot of players are. So I'm not too concerned with rewards, to be completely honest. If they were to separate the rewards we get from hard and normal just across 3 difficulties, I think that'd be fine. I still ultimately think it would be fine if they ended up adding a new difficulty and even more rewards. Like if you were to get 250 accolades for a hard mode completion, I think that's fine. It's just this economy the economy will be concerning if there's nothing to grind for after a couple weeks, So I guess it depends. But yeah, I mean, that's fair. I just don't think it's not a make or break, in my opinion. It's like, yeah, cool, we get a fair amount of new accolades so we can get rewards quicker, but again, it's not a make or break, in my opinion. It also adds 3 new stratagems per day, meaning more variety and thus more fun for everyone. Oh, that's true, 3 new dailies. I mean, dude, honestly, I would take that. I like the idea of 3 more new dailies. It would also help to relax the community, I think, as an average player who would be able to now beat 2 to 3 difficulties per week instead of 1 out of 2. Dude, okay. I mean, I guess you're an average player if you're beating normal stratagems, but I gotta be honest, I think you're just a little bit above an average player if you're beating normal stratagems. But okay, let's continue. The most frustration for people comes from the fact that the hard weekly stratagem rewards feel mandatory since normal is not enough to unlock anything. Oh, you know what? That's a fair point. This actually kind of convinced me that we need a 3rd difficulty. I mean, look, that's fair, but still, I think if we added in a 3rd difficulty, it would be better to kind of like separate the rewards we have right now for normal and hard across 3 difficulties. But okay, fine. Even if people aren't playing hard, then that means whatever accolades are rewarded for hard mode, it doesn't really matter if people can't beat it, I guess. With an additional difficulty that would change so that an average player gets to unlock 1 item per week, while better players can unlock an average of 2 items per week. And yeah, how many heroics we're getting? 2 items per week. Yeah, see, that's like 4 weeks. You'll unlock everything within the month. Likely less than a month, considering you can jump into the newest patch with accolades. So yeah, you would finish grinding everything probably in a couple weeks, something like that. I think that's okay. I mean, dude, the game already has so much grind to begin with. But yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned of unlocking everything too early, to be honest. Now, as far as like the actual implementation of a 3rd difficulty in stratagems, I think it's a fair solution, but I can't help but think this is a lot, right? Like, I do think it makes sense to have a 3rd difficulty, and recently games have been doing this like normal and hard thing, and it does kind of leave some room for some balancing, but I'm not 100% sure if a 3rd difficulty intermediate is going to help if players are already struggling on normal, right? Like we're kind of in a weird spot in this game where players are either thriving in hard mode or they are struggling in normal, and I'm just not 100% sure what could be the case. The game is deep and much harder than other games to figure out. Saber definitely doesn't help. Most people talk about pool noodles, don't understand the combo system, so they go in with light attacks or they don't know which attacks to use. Yeah, if you're gonna just jump in there with light attacks, you really should just bring out the power axe, right? The power axe is actually like the one weapon that's really good in that situation. But say, yeah, even with the combat knife, you want to jump in with some light attacks and then go for a charge attack because you have a perk that can make that charge attack feel a little bit stronger. I think, yeah, this is definitely an interesting situation. Like, you can see how players have good points about like how Saber is obviously not really creating the most balanced, higher difficulty situations. But then you could also see people in this game where it's like, hey guys, I'm shooting this enemy directly in his foot, and he's not dying after like 2 mags. What is going on? And it's like, brother, maybe stop shooting his foot and hit his headshot, you know? Now, we have talked about, bolt weapons feeling underpowered when it comes to body shots and everything like that. You know, you basically need to hit headshots in higher difficulties, and I think that is definitely a fair point to make. When it comes to this game feeling unbalanced, if you can just hit their headshots and it does a lot of damage, but if you hit their body shots, it does no damage, yeah, that maybe we have an issue with balance kind of in that range, you know what I mean? Maybe it's not so much about intermediate difficulty, but it has more to do with the fact that you either have a super effective attack or your attack is not effective at all. Like, even in the sense when we were talking about pool noodles and light attacks, light swings in this game feel terrible. But I'm saying light swings are fun to mix in with some charge attacks, with some harder attacks, and you can get benefits from perks to do such. So yeah, it definitely feels pretty bad though if you're just sitting there doing light swings, for sure. And I do think the game should make light swings a little bit stronger. But we definitely have issues with players not really understanding the mechanics, 100%. They could do normal equals substantial, 2 modifiers, medium equals lethal, 3 modifiers, hard equals absolute, 4 modifiers. Normal can have 1 positive and 1 negative, lethal can spawn 1 positive and 2 negative, and absolute can have 2 positive and 2 negative. Lethal only having 1 positive is balanced by its difficulty, same with absolute. Rewards can be 10, 15, 30 if you're really good. You can clear close to 150 accolades per day, or 75 if you can do 2 to 3 difficulties. Weeklies can be 150, 200, 300. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that economy is wild. But like, again, I don't mind it if it's easier to grind for these rewards. I just am a little bit worried that in a couple weeks people won't have anything to grind for. You know what I mean? But all right, yeah, this is definitely an interesting way to look at it, dude. The inconsistencies with difficulties, I swear, stratagems seriously made it so much worse, man. Because not only are the conditions random, but the amount of modifiers you have, isn't that random as well? Like on hard difficulty, you can get 3 modifiers. And that's like, it can be pretty easy, but you can also get 3 modifiers that are just like insanely difficult. And then you can have hard stratagems with 4 modifiers that are just like 2 class nerfs and like 2 damage buffs or something. And it's like weird. It's kind of weird because, yeah, this definitely leaves an inconsistent window for difficulty, 100%. So like right now for difficulty, at least in my opinion, we might have a problem with players learning the game. I do still strongly think there are plenty of players jumping into hard stratagems underleveled, 100%. There's a lot of inconsistent moments with difficulty in general, for sure, like grab attacks and everything like that, but that is also even further made pretty inconsistent when you consider, you know, the amount of random conditions and random situations where it's like, okay, you get a grab attack, but I'm a bulwark, so I can just drop a banner and heal myself. Okay, you get a grab attack, but I'm in an assault class and I have no ammo, so I'm dead. So yeah, like not only do we have an issue with difficulties being inconsistent, but maybe class balance as well isn't as consistent as we'd want it to be. So I think overall, when it comes to the conversation of getting good in this game, I think you seriously have to do your due diligence to make sure that you can't improve at all, or at the very least, you can't improve your kit. Because you can definitely improve as a player, for sure. But, like, sometimes this game doesn't really care if you improve a little bit. The game wants you to improve significantly so you can carry. Like, okay. Yeah, we might have an issue with difficulty in this game. We also might have a get good issue with this game for sure, where we have players, you know, still using their pool noodles when it's like, brother, you need to level up your pool noodle. It's a purple pool noodle, bro. I have a heroic pool noodle right here. you gotta get the heroic pool noodle. No, but seriously though, I do think heroics can potentially make this a little bit easier because, like, considering the heroic chainsword, that weapon feels so good. If you bring a heroic weapon down into absolute, you really do feel like it is a higher tier difficulty in a sense, at least certain heroic weapons. So not only are we in a position where it's kind of weird because it's like, oh wow, we can have random modifiers, but like, yeah, there are definitely some weapons that are clearly better than others when it comes to higher difficulties. So maybe we do have just like a across the board balance issue? I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. This is definitely why I'm bringing it up to you guys, because I keep reading new posts about balance issues, like everything when it comes to like classes, heroic weapons, difficulty. The devs definitely need to understand they might have more work when it comes to balance. So we will see how this turns out, because I'm not too sure if we have a get good issue here or if the game is just horribly balanced. It's likely the latter. But okay, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this, and thanks for watching.